All right. We're going to give this another minute or two, make sure that everybody is on, and then we'll start. All right. Welcome, everybody. Thank you again for coming to this meeting. This meeting is going to be about cost remediation. And for those of you that haven't been with us in the last few meetings, we have joined with a company called IBSP, and they specialize in saving people money. But I'm not going to go too far into it. I'm going to let Jim explain what exactly their company does. Jim Collop is actually an agent with us, and he's going to be the one that's going to be presenting the information today. And after we do a little bit of explanation, we're going to have a question and answer session. So, Jim, go ahead, and we'll leave it up to you.
All right, thank you, Anthony. So what my job is to work with you all to help you understand what we're doing and train you a little bit. But keep in mind that you're not going to be required to be experts in any of this.
With them.
We just want you to open the door to what we call a discovery call. So I'm going to be referring back to that phrase, a discovery call, throughout this thing. But what Integrity Business Solutions does is we reduce, recover, recapture business expenses. So we work with businesses just like you do. But we work with a lot of other services that you don't work with. So it's a good marriage between what you do with merchant processing, credit card processing, and what we do. So let me give you an example. So that's in general what we do. We work with commercial property owners, hotels, motels, manufacturing plants, large corporations, small corporations, restaurants, commercial property owners, I think I may have mentioned. Any business that you run into could be a client of ours as well as yours. So when you, so let me give you an idea of a couple of things that we do. This through a description of a case study that I'm working on with a little manufacturing plant in Salinas. It's got 14 employees. They don't own the building. They manufacture bottled artichokes for Whole Foods. So we go in there and we look at what are they spending their money on. And the first thing we discovered is they're spending $89,000 on workers' comp. So we say, well, let us audit your workers' comp carrier to see if we can reduce your workers' comp bill. We're not going to change the carrier. We're just going to try to reduce, recover, recapture the expenses. And it's hard to believe, but many times the workers' comp carriers, about 80% of the time, they end up charging a little more than they should. And when I say a little more, it actually can be substantially more. Now, the purpose of all of what we're going to talk about in terms of reducing expenses is to make them a client. We want to work with them, and the way you work with the client is you benefit them. So we're able to get them about $10,000 or $15,000 back from their workers' comp carrier through overcharging for the last 5 years. The other thing we've done is we have analyzed to see if they're eligible for research and development tax credits. Now, tax credits are not a tax deduction. Tax credits are a dollar for dollar reduction of your tax bill. So if you owe $100,000 in income tax and you have $100,000 of tax credits, that means you don't owe the government anything. So a tax credit is a very powerful program that the government has instituted, and it's been in place for decades in order to spur business. A company of that size has a CPA firm, but generally the CPAs don't, at that level, they aren't privy to the process of securing tax credits. And that's what we do. So we go in and we talk about tax credits, how we can get money back from the government for them. And we do it on contingency. We're not going to ask for any money from them. If we are successful, and we are, 80-85% of the time, or else we wouldn't do the work, we know going in that we're going to be able to be successful, or we won't go any further. Then we'll take a percentage of the tax credits that of the benefit that we get for them. The same thing with the workers' comp. So, and all of these services are services that you get paid on. So you get paid on the workers' comp audit, you get paid on the R&D tax credits, you get paid on the hiring incentives. The hiring incentive is a program, again, to spur business by the federal government, where the government will give the manufacturer between $3,500 and $9,500 per employee that they hire. Again, the CPAs at that level probably are not privy to how to secure those hiring incentives. But they actually can be a lot of money. For instance, I was working with another firm that hires about 20 to 30 people a year, and they can get about $20,000 back from the government in hiring incentives. So these, and again, on contingency, this is something that we're going to do for the employer in order to make them a client. We get paid to do it. You're going to get paid to do it. But again, we're not asking for any money from them. All we're asking from them is to allow us to help them reduce, recapture, recover over expenditures. And the other thing that we do is tax mitigation. And I just gave you a couple of examples, the hiring incentive tax strategy and the R&D tax credits. Now for commercial property, again, we don't do residential, but we do commercial property reviews, and we talk to the commercial property owners and we ask them, do you pay too much in property tax? Property tax is a very common door opener. Most commercial property owners believe they're paying too much in property tax. And so we ask them if we can work with them to help reduce their property tax. If we're successful, and we are, or we wouldn't take the case, then we will, again, work on contingency. We don't ask for any money. And once their property taxes are reduced, we take a percentage of the property tax savings in the first year. And that's how you get paid. You get paid on that work. We also do cost segregation studies, which are an advanced engineering-based analysis of the depreciation of a building, where we review each component of the building, put them on a separate depreciation schedule, and the net effect of that is that we're able to deliver to the commercial property owner, on average, about $300,000 per building in additional deductions. Again, all this is to make a client. And again, you're going to get paid on that.
Right.
So
Jim,
hopefully
I just wanted to say, for you guys, this is really important. And the reason is because not everybody that you approach for credit card processing is going to listen to what you have to say when it comes to credit card processing. They get calls all the time. They get people that walk in their businesses all the time with people that sell them they can save them money. And of course, we know that, we have our $500 guarantee, but sometimes, there are cases where they're still not going to listen to what you say. They see you as a salesman and they're just not going to listen to you. So what this is able to do is you can spark a conversation about something that's other than credit card processing and talk about putting money back into their pockets. And then the credit card processing is just the next step. So, Jim, I was hoping that maybe you could touch on what a conversation would be like if you were to walk into a business, and how would you start that conversation?
Well, let's talk about a restaurant, for instance. A restaurant's a pretty common business. They use a lot of credit card processing, and they probably hear quite often from people who want to change them to compete for that business. What we would do is talk about all the other services that we can provide a restaurant. We can, of course, audit their workers' comp carrier to make sure that workers' comp is not being overcharged. We can audit and review their waste disposal, because there's a huge waste issue with restaurants and disposing of their extra food and garbage and that sort of thing. We can look at their energy usage to determine if they're efficient in that arena. We can secure the hiring incentive program, because most restaurants have a large turnover, and usually the CPAs don't realize that every time they hire somebody, the government's going to compensate that employer. So these are areas that we can discuss in putting money back in the pocket of the restaurant owner. When we do that, of course, we make a client out of them, and now they're going to really listen to the idea of saving money on credit card processing. Does that make sense, Anthony?
Absolutely does. Thank you very much for that. So after you've gotten them interested, what would you, I already know the answer to this, but I want to get this out there. What process is going to happen? So you have them interested, now what?
This process is a form, I believe, on the Digital World site that we want you to have in your hands to complete with the restaurant owner in this case. And at the bottom of that form are areas of interest. There's probably 10 to 15 different areas of interest that we can work with them. You fill out the form with the name, address, social, or not social, but the contact information. You check the boxes that are of areas of interest, and send that to Anthony, and we will set up a discovery call with you and with the business owner. Now, we can do this nationwide. We've been doing this for 12, 13 years. We've saved companies, over $400 million in taxes, and actually a lot more than that in just refined business operations. Now, we've talked a lot about, we do a lot more than what we've talked about. We talk a lot, but we do a lot more than this. And so I encourage you to get on these calls, because we're going to discuss all of the services that we offer, but we don't want to do it and make you feel like there's just too much here. But let's get back to the restaurant owner. That restaurant owner may own the building. That restaurant owner may have remodeled that building. I'm actually eyeing a restaurant now that is probably putting $1 million into a building before they open. We can do a cost segregation study with that. We can do lease audits to make sure that they're not paying too much on leases. We can do equipment audits. So a lot of restaurants will lease equipment, or a lot of businesses will lease equipment. We do cell phone audits. A lot of businesses provide cell phones for their employees, and the cell phone companies will overcharge them. We can get money back for them. So these are, again, areas that we can help the business owner. And this is on that form that I'm referring to that you can download off a Digital World site. And check the boxes. We'll set up a discovery call and interview the owner. Again, and you'll be on the line. The owner's we're not going to ask them for any money. We're going to ask for the opportunity to work for them and to provide service and dollars that they don't have or they don't have access to, didn't know existed. And we're going to provide, 5 figures, maybe even 6 figures of tax benefits, refunds, and just dollars that they didn't know that they were going to get. Anthony, is that clear?
Yeah. Actually, I just pulled up on my screen. I'm going to show everybody that has a screen at the moment where to find this information. So what you're going to do is you're going to log into the interface like I've done here, and then you're going to go to More, and then you're going to click Documents. And then in Documents, if you scroll down to where it says Miscellaneous Documents, you're going to see where the Cost Remediation pages are. So we have Cost Remediation Discovery, Cost Remediation Overview, and Cost Remediation Questionnaire. So we haven't really gone into the discovery call yet, but the questionnaire is what we're talking about. So this here is what you're going to be looking at, and the interests at the bottom he was talking about, I think he's right. I think there's about 15 of them. There are more things that IBSP provides, but this is the main things that we thought would be of interest. So I would just get them, interested in at least one of these things, and then after you've already put money back in their pocket, they're probably going to want to do more.
Well, that's what our job is, too. On that discovery call, we're going to start with the area that is of most importance to the business owner and then branch out and work into some other areas that they don't know that they're eligible for, but they actually are. So the discovery call is a very important step in the process. And again, all the communication is going to go through Anthony through Digital World. All forms will go through Digital World. We will set up the discovery calls through Digital World to you, and this will work just fine. Shall we go through some Q&A?
Real quick, I want to touch on one more thing. The discovery call is probably the most important thing that you guys can provide them. So once you have someone interested, you really want to make sure that you get them on the phone with the experts so they can find out more about their business and, let them know what they can provide. And the way that you're going to do that is you're going to bring this form that you're looking at. You're going to send that to Digital World. We're going to set up that discovery call for you, and then you're going to go back to that business and get them on the phone. And as soon as that happens, you're more than likely going to have a sale. So that being said, the process is pretty simple. It's just a matter of you guys going out there, getting the businesses interested in what you have to say. Now, there are some approach methods in the interface as well. But as far as what this means to you guys, I do want to also emphasize the importance of not just making money from doing this, but getting feet in the door and really making your downline, making money not just from yourself, but from your downline. So, I mean, when you think about this, if you've got 7 levels deep and you've got people doing this on, every level, and the amount of money that can possibly be made doing this, I mean, that's a huge incentive, and it's just another way for you to start making money before you have built up your residual income, and this is a perfect way to do it.
Well, that's exactly right. We we feel like this is a great marriage between a large upfront compensation and building a residual income at the same time through the merchant processing part of digital, so that everybody can make a living doing as much income as they want, how much effort they put into it. Now, one of the, I don't know if we want to go into business brokerage or lending or franchising. Do we want to talk about any of that?
No, I think at the moment we've probably thrown a lot of information their way already. So I wouldn't mind going into the question and answer, and then if more specific questions pop up, then we can answer them as we go.
Great. Anybody have any questions? Anybody type in anything, Anthony?
Hey, is there a list for there's that list online, Anthony, where they supposed to ask a merchant that's on a dock?
You're talking about let's see, is that one? Is it this one?
If you can lower that to maybe 5 questions, like Brian Tracy, one of his closes is to actually sit and go 5 questions, always an odd number. And then, of course you want to hit the ones, are you interested in saving money, whatever, those 5 questions are. And of course you're going to say
here's a few questions right here. Are you paying too much for property tax? There's a few of them in here. Are you getting R&D tax credits?
Okay.
Things like that.
That's in that. Yeah, yep. I'm sorry. We're running real slow on this laptop here, John. I got it.
No, you're fine. This one in here is, I think the one I pushed was Cost Remediation. I think it was Discovery.
Okay, sweet.
And that's how you're going to want to move people to a discovery call. Now, I mean, do you have to follow this every single time? No. This is just, possible ways to start that conversation. All right. Any other questions?
If nobody's got any, I got another one. What's the payout on that? What's the
That's really going to vary. To be very specific on this, it's really hard to. There's no way for us to know how much money that's going to be made. All we can really tell you is that if there's a profit that's being made, let's say it's $20,000, you're going to make 20% of that.
Okay. The other one other question too is do they have any agent ISO support that we can call and actually talk to somebody maybe before we go into a business?
My suggestion is to give us a call, here at Digital World, and if you have specific questions that you need answered, we'll do the best that we can to answer them. And if we can't answer them ourselves, we'll get back to you with an answer. It's just like with our credit card processors. We would prefer not to have our agents calling into them and deal with us directly.
I got you. I understand.
And that's a very good question. If I could expand on that, Anthony.
Sure.
I think that one of the ways that I live in Santa Cruz, and we have some Digital World reps here in Santa Cruz, and I talk to them about how to approach funeral homes. For instance, funeral homes are a huge business for us. Econolodges endorse us. We have the Econolodge logo on our literature. We have the Hotel Association endorses us. We have their logo on our literature. So we have a lot of endorsements and a lot of credibility. And one of the things that I encourage the Digital World reps here to do is think about it before you go in there. Think about how's the conversation going to go? What do you know about the industry? What do you know about the business itself? For instance, we do a lot of work with car dealers. because car dealers are by contract forced to remodel their car dealerships. Ford will force them by contract to remodel, to keep their premises up, keep them current, or make them modern. They will support that effort with some money, but every time they remodel, it's a cost seg deal. And a lot of car dealers own the land that they're on, and so it's not only a car dealership, it's not only a cost segregation deal, which is it's a large commissionable program, but we'll also get property tax, we'll also get hiring incentives, and we'll get the processing, the merchant processing out of it. And that's a big ticket. Merchant processing is a huge ticket in car dealerships. So it works very, very well. Same thing with hotels. A lot of hotel owners own their buildings. They are looking for a cost seg study, property tax reduction, hiring incentives, energy audits to see if they're energy efficient, and on and on and on. And, of course, we want to get their merchant processing. So very, very powerful approach when we work together. And I encourage you to learn, stay informed, get on these calls, get your team on these calls, and we'll work with them. Anthony will set these up, and he will set up the discovery calls.
But yeah.
Well, not yes.
I've got one more thing. A lot of our agents, they're not professional salespeople, and a lot of our leads are personal leads. They're friends, they're family, because we're different. We're a different approach, And so what happens is that these guys, they might not know a lot about credit card processing or cost remediation or whatever it is, but so when we go there, it's somebody's friend of a friend or whatever, so we don't have a lot of credibility. Is there you mentioned some bigger corporations. Is there a list anywhere of like some of the bigger businesses that you've done? So when I go in there and I talk to somebody, I can say, yeah, well, you know what, we've worked with this company, this company, this company, and this company, and that's instant credibility to a big business, or to any business that says, hey, we can do this.
Well, we certainly have that list. We have referrals from Fortune 500 companies down to mom and pop little grocery stores. One of the things that I've done 2 group presentations in San Francisco for 30 to 50 digital world reps, and they asked the same question. I'm going to cough just a second. And what I say to them, and the same thing I say to the local people here in Santa Cruz, is let's pick one person that you have a strong relationship with. This is about relationships. Digital world is relationship marketing. And you either have them or you build them and develop them. And this is what this industry is about, is developing relationships. And I encourage you as a leader to help your folks have a strategy and technique and develop relationships with their merchants so that we can work with them over a long-term basis. And so I tell in the group presentations, I say, I have brochures, I brought them, but I'm not going to give them to you because I want you to get a relationship, just one, and let's watch it work. And then we'll get a second one. So let's stay really focused on just the relationships that we have and start building a second relationship and then a third relationship. Well, I think it's so easy. I've been doing this for, a couple of years, and it's very, very easy to get overwhelmed in this business. When you add digital world to what we're doing, it's just a very powerful presentation. And I like to simplify it down to get people to get a discovery call and let us go to work for them.
Because I've got an appointment next week with a guy who has 80 employees, You know, um,
80 employees.
he has 80 employees. He's the owner of the company, and him and I do have a personal relationship. We're friends in high school, so he's going to listen to me. So
Fantastic.
I wanted to have something like that in hand.
What kind of business is it?
He has an IT business, and he sets up actually POS networks for several different companies locally in the Chicagoland area.
Does he manufacture?
No, he doesn't manufacture. He sets up the IT networks for different companies like Target or things like that. Franchises.
Great.
Hi, this is Kyle. I just have a quick question. This is all available in Canada, right?
Yes.
Perfect. Alrighty, thank you very much.
A lot of our services are available in Canada.
Okay, great. I do have to head out, but I did jot down a lot of notes, and I appreciate the call. And the next one will be next week.
I believe so.
All right, thank you guys, and enjoy the rest of your day. Take care.
Yeah, thanks.
You too.
We will be here next week. We're going to be doing this every week, at least until further notice, anyway. Which I'm not sure. Is there any more questions before we sign off here? Okay. Well then, thank you everybody. Thank you very much, Jim.
Thank you, Anthony.
And
all right, we'll talk
you guys
next
all
week.
have a great day. We will be doing the next meeting on Tuesday, and then the next IBSP meeting on Thursday.
Okay, great call, guys. Good, Jim.
Okay,
Thank you. Bye-bye.